Andy Frasco, I'm on the tour with Jim, and he has something he wants to say to you.
Andy, you got to come get Todd. He's turning off lights everywhere. I mean, it's like sometimes we drove by a restaurant and he ran in and he turned down the lights.
He loves it. Jesus Christ, I told him to say something else. Andy Frasco, Todd Glass. I guess I don't have to say my name. You know what? I miss you guys. I really do. That was shut the fuck up fun being with you guys. Just from my heart. And by the way, I heard your manager's going to be there tonight. So don't do what you did in Philly, gobbling up all the drugs. You know what you're like? You're like the mushroom monster. Me Andy Frasco, me love mushroom. Clean it up, Frasco. I ain't shitting around because let me tell you something. I like Brian, and I'm telling on you. You do anything when I'm around you, I'm telling Brian.
Hey, it's Schwartz. Listen, I just got back to my desk and heard that once again fans are giving you drugs and you're eating them on stage. This is not a joke. I've left you this message before. Unfortunately, you're thick-skulled and you're not getting it. You can put this on the podcast. You cannot take illegal substances from anyone ever and do them in public on stage. You will get arrested. You will call me crying. I will have to fucking get on a plane and bail you out. And then you can say goodbye to going to certain international markets. And you can also just say goodbye to the momentum because it's going to set you back. Seriously, Andy, get your shit together. If you want to do drugs, I don't care what you do as long as you drink water and balance it out. But don't do it in private. Certain things are not for the public. Okay? Pull your head out of your ass.
Hey guys, it's Andy. Hope you're just kicking ass out there. Just shredding shit out there this week. I'd like to premiere a new single from my band Andy Frasco and the UN called What We Used to Be Is Not Who We Are. It's going back to my emo years. I wanted to express that, just because you're changing doesn't mean that's a bad thing. Get out there and keep changing, keep evolving. So Chris, play the trumpets, baby. It's time to premiere a new single off another record that this band is going to put out called What We Used to Be Is Not Who You Are. Enjoy.
Got heavy-headed thoughts, but my heart still goes. Had love in my youth, was scared to grow. What I saw is what I know. Aiming to please, but nowhere to go. Wore extra long tees and overcoats. Always hiding everything inside my clothes. Decomposed, but nobody knows. Overexposed, and now it shows. Got an armful of wristbands to cover the scars. What we used to be is not who we are. I know who I am, just scared to grow. I tend to work out the kinks as I go. Abuse myself with turns from the road. Love in your heart, you're never alone. Got an armful of wristbands to cover the scars. What we used to be is not who we are. Got an army of good friends who answer the call.
How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing good, chilling.
So you said you were in North Carolina for a little bit visiting family. What's your brother's name?
My brother's name is Joel.
So how important is family to you?
Family is really important to me, but it's one of those weird things where I realized a few years, it's probably about 10 years ago now, that, I do all this stuff to, take care of my family, and I basically just run away from them. Like my whole job takes me away from being close to them. You know what I mean? Like far from home. I can't be home. North Carolina is on the coast. I grew up in a really small town, so
we're Outer
it's just
Banks.
Farther south in the Outer Banks. Morehead City is it's on the other side of Ocracoke. If you've been down to Ocracoke,
Yeah.
So if you take, you go all the way down to Outer Banks, take a ferry to Ocracoke, and then if you drive on the other side, you take the other ferry, then you get to where I'm from.
Oh wow! How hard is it to process? Like I'm in a band too, man. I've been in a band for 15 years, and I'm family's really important to me. And how do you process in your head that you're doing the right thing? But been going away for so long.
That's a good question. I don't know if you do process. I mean, it's so different now. Being able to catch up is a lot easier just because of phones and stuff. I got my parents a computer. The first computer they had at their house. They had an old one for years and then it disappeared. And I got them one just so I could FaceTime them from the road. You know what I mean?
Right.
And a year went by and it was the next Christmas where I was like, I'm going to set up the FaceTime now because y'all never did this. But just being able to connect, trying to be more present, because I used to go a month without talking to my folks, and I try to make it every week just to be more present. I think it's easy to get lost, especially out on the road. Just get lost and start your own life. But also that's my parents raised us to start our own lives. I think they felt like they lived their lives the way their parents wanted them to live. So they raised their sons to be artists and poets, and then we grew up and they were like, fuck.
That's what I was gonna say. They're like, oh shit, they're actually gonna do it.
We didn't teach them anything. They're like, you should do what you want to do. So it's a crapshoot. It's a gamble.
Do they guilt trip you now that you're as they get older? Because it's like people get lonelier. They see their years ending sooner than later. And do they give you guilt that you're not calling them anymore, or is that just internally? You feel like you need to do that?
They don't actually. They're pretty good. I mean, my parents are such a unit themselves. What they've been together for 45 years or something.
Right.
So, and they're still playing grab ass and stuff. You're getting called out, mom and dad, if you're listening.
Let's go.
They're still playing grab ass and they're all cute and shit. So, I mean, and that's beautiful to me, but I feel like they have what they need. And so it's easy. It's not like they feel real lonely. They have each other and of course they miss their sons and all that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, my dad will always be like, we got some food on the stove. There's some shrimp cooking. If you start driving now, you might make it for dinner. And every time, just to remind us of home and remind us what's there and make us feel safe. But my parents were real good too about as far as my career. They probably by the time I was 21 or 22 accepted my path. They were like, I dropped out of school. I got clean off drugs. They're like, well, he's kind of fucked, but he's
21. You got cleaned off of drugs?
21, 20 years.
So when were you starting to do drugs?
14, 15. I mean, I didn't start doing hard drugs until I was 16. But
what were hard drugs considered to you?
Coke, acid, that type. I mean, I was eating mushrooms at 14, smoking lots of weed,
and they were cool with that.
No, of course not. Of course not. I was little brother, so I got away with everything. You know what I mean? When your little brother, well, I mean, that's not true for everybody. I saw my brother get caught so many times and plead the fifth and cry and say, I didn't do it. I just knew by the time I was coming around, I was sneaky. I was real sneaky, which was probably worse off, made me worse off, made me a bit of a liar and a thief and all these things that I had to reform myself.
How many years younger are you?
3.5.
3.5. Yeah. So so you still went to high school with him. So you saw him as a senior.
No, we just missed. So my freshman year was his freshman year in college. So, but yeah, my brother was like revered for being like a madman, when he was in high school. So then when I got to high school, people were like, oh, you must be crazy like your brother, and telling me all these lies, outright lies about my brother. Like he did this and that, or he's this and that. I'm like, nah, that's not true. So I was like, are people making the rumors that he's this wild person, or is he making the rumors, or is there stuff I don't know? But when I got to high school, I was just kind of I was still like played sports and was just kind of fine. Like I lost, my best friend moved away, and then my 8th grade year. So it was this really big change in my life of like, what am I? Right. The kids that I grew up with playing sports, which I love sports. I still love sports. We can't play anymore. I realized that we were different,
right.
We're like, we still get on, but like we're wired, our brains are a little different. Like,
right.
And then so I started to find my people more like me, who were more like skaters and surfers and that was my crew.
That's when the acid hits.
I couldn't skate. Man, I've had bad knees since I was like 10 years old. Like I had this Oscar Schlotters, so I couldn't skateboard. So I would just I was just like freestyle and sell weed. That was my job in the crew. Like entertain us and get a bag. I'm like, I can do this all day.
That's amazing.
So that was the crew.
So what, it's like, I'm the same way, man. I got away with murder. My sisters were doctors and marketing people. And then I am that musician that was 6 years later, and I got away. I learned how to lie and knew how to get my way. What is it that the babies know how to fucking, because they've seen it before. They've seen, or are we just like kind of loners because our parents are like kind of over fucking
dude, you're hitting on a few points there. Because I do think, the older kid, the first kid always gets it the worst because the parents don't know what the hell they're doing.
Right.
And then, the second one gets a little less because they just they realize they have to be a little more lax.
Right.
They ain't going to change everything. And then it just keeps getting a little bit easier and easier. And then maybe by the end, it might get harder. If you're real far down the line, like, oh my God, these kids are never going to change. But yeah, I think seeing my brother, just like the way he got in trouble, I learned how to get out of things quicker, just deal with the pain really fast. If you're going to get a spank, I remember the last time my dad spanked me, he spanked my brother first, and my brother was wailing and screaming. I was probably only like 6 years old. And then I was up next, and I just walked in with a straight face and pulled my britches down and said, are we going to do this? And my dad just like looked at me like, is this kid a psychopath? But I took the five smacks and I went and played because I was like, I ain't got time for this. Like, if we're going to do it, let's get it over with so I can go, play with my G.I. Joes or whatever. And there's something about that too, but also parents are, I think a lot of my loneliness, no disrespect to them because they just work their asses off to keep the boat afloat. But I just had to play with myself. Yeah. I was just like in the woods, with a stick. I watched this George Carlin stand up recently, and he's like, yeah, when I was a kid, I had one toy. It was called a stick. And I would dig a hole. I would dig it. Like, I didn't have video games or any of this stuff. This is old Carlin before smartphones even, but he's just like, it was just me and my buddy's stick. And I'm like, I completely relate to that. I think about kids these days. I don't know how the hell they deal with everything, the onslaught of information and availability of things. Like when I found out that you could listen to like 30-second clips of music on the internet when I was like 7th, 8th grade. I real player clips on weird websites to like listen to music that I couldn't get a hold of. It was just like blew my mind. Like, and you would wait all day.
Yeah.
It's just so different. Yeah, it's just so different now.
Well, now it's like instead of 30-second clips, it's like 6-second clips. Like the ADD culture is getting so much crazier. I want to go back to that idea of like, you said, all right, let me get the slaps on the ass and let's get back to it. Do you feel like that is how you treated your career as well? Like whatever I had to do to get to this next point in my life, I'm going to have to do it. If it's fucking living in a van, like you knew all the processes of it to get to where you wanted to go. Like what was your vision with Future Islands?
I think there is some truth in that. I guess I never really thought about it, but there's definitely a stubbornness and bullheadedness to doing this as a career and making it work. Like you kind of got to be, you either got to be ignorant or
It's so true.
I've just said so many words that are pretty much the same thing. Like you really have to, I mean, you got to have some talent, you know, you got to be able to write a song or something, but even people that, the thing about music nowadays is you can find and there's a niche for everything. We're so connected. Like if you make the weirdest, most niche music, you can have there are 100 people out there who will buy everything that you do and will support you. You just have to find them. And I think we kind of discovered that early on, just within our community of college, like we were playing to 400 people every month at the local bar, and they would buy our little CDRs, and like building that base was important. But there are the times, there is like 22. Can I really do this? There's 25. Is this insane? Like, am I wasting my life? 20, 28, 29. I mean, it wasn't until I was 23 when I said, I'm going to give this to 30, or I'll go back to school. I failed out of school, but I think there's like an 8-year period, and then they'll wipe your records.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll put in 8 years, and then, I've made that rule to myself. Like if I don't make a name for myself in this game, then by 30, I'll go back to school and figure it out. But but by 26, I was like, I can do this, make a name for myself and keep going, can live like this. But, there's a lot of sacrifice to what you feel comfortable with to be able to make it work. You have to be like, I don't need security, to go after music, to understand like what's the most important thing for you. My goal was never to be famous or to be like a multimillionaire. It was just to live off my art and not have people tell me what to do, and that's that stubbornness. Yeah. That's just like, don't tell me what to do.
And that's that only child. I mean, like the younger child / like, I'm teaching myself how to live. So if I'm teaching myself how to live, don't teach me how to live when I'm actually an adult.
Yeah. Well, and it's constantly a growing process. Like I'm still, I'm a couple months away from 40, and I'm, still redefining my life and my goals. Right. And that's something that's allowed to change. Right. I think people don't feel comfortable, and they're like, is this a midlife crisis? Can you tell me, is this a midlife? Yeah. But it is like, no, we have to, if we don't like adapt and change or redefine what we want, then we kind of find dead ends. Yeah. The interesting thing is like, when I was 23, I went after this goal. I had this girl that I loved, and I was going to make this thing happen. And she only lasted like another year, and then she was gone. But that was the thing, was like, I said, I'm going to go after this. And then when I hit 30, and I was like, wow, I got everything that I wanted, but I lost this other side. I didn't get a family. I didn't get love. I've been in and out of relationships. So then I went after that for a few years, but you kind of like choose a path, and you got to get to the end of it. Right. Because I knew that if I knew at that time, like if I gave up music, then I would always wonder what if.
Right.
And if I stayed with the girl and said I just make a life, then I'd probably grow to resent this other person that kept me from this dream.
Right.
So I had to go for the dream, and then I got the dream, but then I was like, well, now what is there?
Yeah, now
and
what?
You got to redefine. Yeah, like what's the goal is just to live off the music, and that's I've been able to do that. But maintaining is another beast. Sorry, man. I'm so tangential.
No,
with the
bring
way
it
I
on.
roll.
I love this, man. I'm here for it. Because I'm like, it makes sense. Like, okay, we see the dream. Sometimes maybe we got the dream earlier than the other people got the dream. Now the goal is, how do we fine tune the dream so we could still be a fucking dream? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, because this thing becomes business, and that's like what I don't like.
Me either,
and I
dude.
told, like, I was shifted this call around because I was like, I had a really important management band meeting. Right. Important because we don't talk.
Yeah, same as mine, dude. Same as mine.
I'm like, man, we got to talk sometime. We got to like communicate, and that's important in any relationship. You forget it, but there is that thing that scares me with music, because you're like, well, now my art is a business that's a machine that feeds people, not just like the people that enjoy the art, but the people that like are, within the band, within the crew, within management, labels. Like, you're like, wow, this is an important thing for a lot of people, but also it's just supposed to be art.
Right. Right. And that's why we did it in the first place, bro.
Yeah. And so like, it's so important to have these like meetings, and then you're like, it also cracks my brain because I would rather just be making art.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all a weird. It's a weird thing. I mean, we just got 18 years as Future Islands, and 21 years me, William, and Garrett have been playing together. So it's a long road, man.
Yeah,
long
dude.
road.
You guys ever like want to beat the shit out of each other?
Nah, it's been a few years.
Yeah, dude. I hear you, dude.
I think there was some beefs in the old days. Now it's like spoken through, but
what were the beefs?
But yeah. Well, I mean, early on, like William wanted to kick my ass because I was a drug addict, and he was just trying to wake me up out of my addiction. And that he was being a friend. And then, we had our first drummer left the band because me and him, we got into it a few times. I think he really was at, his personality was very dominant.
Yeah.
But he was the new guy.
Yeah. Oh, Garrett?
Because no, not Garrett. Our first drummer. So William and Garrett, we had the band for 2.5 years, and then we started Future Islands. One of our members left, so we ended the first band, and we started the new band with the new drummer, who was a buddy from around town. But he was very much like always trying to like be the dominant leader type, and our whole thing is like, no, like no leaders.
Yeah,
we all lead. It's a democracy, and so as the, but I would just, we would get into it. It was like, we go out at the ocean and he'd be like, who can swim farther type shit,
Oh
like,
my fucking God, let's go.
Yeah. And then one night, me and him took a hit of acid and drank about 24 beers each. And my last beer I poured out on his head, and we didn't come to, I was trying to get him to fight me. He wouldn't fight me. And he walked like 30 miles home. I still feel really bad about that, but that's how he quit the band.
Oh my! Really? Have you guys talked since then?
A couple times.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, man, sorry, Eric.
Yeah.
This is like 16 years ago.
That's
wild.
wild.
I think we've seen each other a couple times, but yeah. That was kind of a weird one. But he had a very different approach. We got into it that night because he said that he wanted to like just make $1 million and quit making music. And I was
really?
like, no, I'm up on acid and 1 million beers. It was like,
we're artists.
No, yeah, we're going to make 1 million records and make no money. Agree with me.
How's Garrett?
Like,
How's Garrett?
Stupid.
Is he like kind of mellow? He's like kind of like whatever, man. It's all good, or is it?
Garrett is the most mellow. Garrett's more like stoic. His vibe is definitely cat. Definitely has a cat vibe. He watches things go around, and then he says what they are, and he's always right, and it's really annoying.
What about
now? I mean, Garrett's like my best friend from when we were like 14, so I know him
forever.
Knowing him forever.
How do you keep those guys on path? You know, like through as they're young, because there's like different personalities. Not a lot of people, like you said, the other bandmate was kind of hard headed. How do you keep them on path to keep the dream alive?
You don't. I mean, that's the thing is so many things that make a successful band with like long serving members. I mean, because that's a big part of it. I mean, there's plenty of bands that have been around that, there's like one or two of the original guys or girls. And it's just, it's just a matter of, who's going to carry the torch, who's going to fight for it. And then people that come and go. But I think as a group, you have to respect that everybody is going to change. But you need the initial or the thing that binds you together, which is that you want to make this thing work. Right. And you have to trust the people around you. But, there's egos, you deal with in any partnership and anything, you deal with egos and people change what they want, and myself included. I'm not throwing anybody. It's just a part of growing up, you know, like for years, the guys had partners and I didn't. And so they would do stuff and I would be like, why aren't we making music? And then I was like, am I jealous?
That's I was going to ask you that. Like, do you think
I wish I was hanging out with a girl?
I wish I was getting constant pussy all the whole time.
So, and like, people get married, people get divorced, people have kids, there's so many great bands that just ended because people wanted to have lives. And then, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think to make it last, you have to be like, you just have to know if everybody still wants it. Know, do we still support this thing and support it as art? But
how hard?
But that's why those conversations are so important to like keep grounded.
I was going to ask you like how hard was it to get that answer when you guys weren't communicating?
I mean, I think it's still difficult for us. I think we are still, you're also in Arrested Development. That.
Right.
Part of being in a band is like, oh, never have to grow up.
Yeah. We're staying young forever.
Yeah. So, that kind of attitude, at some point when me, William, and Garrett communicate, we're still like 20-year-old kids who are learning how to speak with one another and how to like, how to communicate without hurting one another's feelings and how to, I think for us, there's pride that keeps us together. There's pride about a shared venture that, is, like this band, like everything I've seen in this world, I saw it first with those two guys.
Exactly.
How weird is that? Like we played every state in the country, like, went to Europe for the first time, went to Australia, went to Japan, it was always with those guys. So we have this really shared, this insane shared world and worldview that's also, you forget sometimes that even though you're in the same place and doing the same things, you're living completely different lives.
Right.
And that's the thing that you really have to remember to just be like, how's your wife doing? You think that you know one another because you're together so mumuch, but you don't, or you don't, like my relationship with Garrett is like, we don't really have to talk. And I was like, but we really should, like, I wish we would talk more,
Right.
That's been our relationship since we were kids, it's just kind of a, like intrinsic understanding of one another that's like comfortable, but then yeah, trying to be a part of one another's lives is a choice.
Right.
it shouldn't be a forced thing. It should be like, no, I choose that because you're my friend and I love you. And, I'm in New Orleans, and I was in Sweden for years, and I've been traveling away from the guys for so long in the same way that I've traveled away from my family. Now William's living out west. So there's a lot of questions right now. That's part of the new record. It's called People Who Aren't There Anymore. Is not only about like people we lost through drugs and suicide, the pandemic, breakups, divorces, but also, ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe like who we were and what we are now. And
yeah, the new record might be not just being about like your long distance relationship falling apart. Maybe it's like kind of like how we get older with our bandmates and how everyone's kind of distant too. It's like it's all relative, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that understanding of space and time. I mean, like so much of it's one of those weird things with Future Islands where, when we put out our 6th record, I started to realize that the records weren't really, it wasn't like it's the 6th album. It felt more like it's the 6th book, in a series of memoirs or something. It's like the next chronicle of what we've done and where we've been. And, and my story in particular, but I feel that even more so within this new record, where we are, we've been sharing our lives in many different ways for so many years. What's the cost of that? Yeah. But also showing the maturity of not showing maturity, although that is the hope, but like the maturation of a person,
right,
in society. Like you can hear the growth of a human being through those albums, and the early rage, the grief, when you're young, like your emotions are the only thing,
right.
Like nothing else in the world exists except your emotion in that moment, and no one understands you. You're completely alone in your grief, whatever you're going through, and then you find those calm in our middle records of that like calmness and like slowing down and reflecting more and like seeing two sides of the story. And now it's even more so of the accepting like really hard truths and being like, I am accepting this truth and I'm going to move on with grace, because that's what my life has taught me. When you're 23, you're like, the whole world is ending.
It's over.
my girlfriend married. Just hung up on me. Yeah.
They got married. It's over.
Yeah. But,
so maybe you did answer your question. Maybe you were jealous.
Oh, totally, dude. Totally. Oh, I know.
Isn't it crazy how we don't want to admit jealousy?
Yeah, of course. It makes us weak. It makes us seem weak. We can't. It's hard to even say that to our partners who love us.
I know.
I'm so jealous right now. Yeah. So jealous. Stupid.
You get to go
wish
watch
that guy had talked to you.
Yeah. You get to watch Netflix for 7 hours. I'm in a fucking bus with my boys.
Oh, yeah. Jealous about that too. I want to chill. I've definitely been like jealous of just like my, girlfriend's workmates. Just like, they get to hang out with you in silence for 8 hours a day. And I have to be on tour.
Yeah, I have to
just
text
like,
message
no.
passive aggressively so you understand my points.
Oh man,
what is how hard was it as it's like you talk about being a team player through this all, and while you were all using heavy on coke, looking back, do you feel like you weren't being a team player at that time?
No, I was definitely just out for myself. I mean, it's kind of weird. Like I realized years ago in retrospect that there was a part of my dealing drugs that then became my addiction. That was me just, it was kind of like being a sinner,
Right.
There was like an attention to that. It like gave me some like cool identity.
Right.
And I mean, really, I just wanted to have free weed, in the beginning. I just want free weed and I want my friends to come together and like smoke at my crib, smoke at my house, whatever. But there's definitely a side of it with when I started dealing coke and got hard up. That was, there was some weird side of me that like thought it was part of what I was supposed to be doing because I was this musician.
Yeah,
you know, it was totally false. In the same way that people are afraid of, like, if they, like, artists can be afraid if they straighten out their lives and they won't have things to write about.
Right.
And that's in itself is very depressing and self-defeating. And I also understand it because it's a lot easier to write a song when you're like brokenhearted or at the bottom of your life, you know, there's a lot you're really reflecting very deeply. But yeah, there was definitely me like, I'm a rapper who sells drugs. This makes sense. And I'm just like, yeah, that's like what
you're playing with the character. Know. You're playing on like
totally.
You're like Daniel Day-Lewis, bro.
Dude, totally. I mean, that was me. This is me in, you know, high school into college where I was just like, yeah, it's just part of the thing. And then you're like, man, when I look back now, I'm like, that's crazy.
I know.
But I was doing this stuff, you know, I should be in jail. Like, I'm lucky I didn't spend time in jail. And, you know, times I thought I was going to die.
When was that?
So, I mean, I don't have the dates.
No, but like, you know, was it cocaine that you thought you were going to, like, you were over?
Just like heart bursting type.
Holy
nights.
shit.
There was one night we went to do a show. This was a crazy one. We went to do a show we went to school at East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina. And is known as a party school back then. But I was at my house with my roommate and we were going, it was Halloween night. I was dressed up like Alvin from Alvin and the Chipmunks. A great outfit.
I love that outfit.
You know, the whole band, we dressed up as Alvin and the Chipmunks, and then Garrett was Dave, you know, the dad. It was amazing. And, but right before we went out, like, you know, we each had a gram, and then we were going to split like a giant Adderall, you know, it was one of those time release where if you break it out of the capsule and put it under your tongue, it'll immediately hit you. And I went to just take like a little bit of it, and the whole thing went in my mouth. And I was like, I didn't really want to spit it out, but I was like, that's too much, but I don't want to spit it all. So I just kind of took it and we went downtown, went to the show. I'm zooted out of my mind. Just like, I literally had the bag on the bass cab and was just hitting it like in between songs, like taking bumps. But at some point in the show, my nose just popped and I just started bleeding. Man, this shit's crazy. I've never told this story. Luckily, I'm wearing all red, you know? So I'm just like wiping blood on my shirt, and we like continue the show. But on that night, my heart was just like beating out of my chest. Like, this is it. I'm gone at 20.
Did you go to the hospital, or you just kind of like washed it out? Like kind of went to bed finally?
I just partied through it.
Yeah. Yeah, same here, man. I mean, I do that. I used to do coke on stage and do the whole fucking night. One time I did too much right before I went on stage, and I had to walk back off stage because I couldn't catch my breath because adrenaline hit.
Yes, so scary.
Yeah. So when did you? So you're not? Do you do blow now a little bit, or you're just completely done?
No, I mean, when I got clean, I was on like a gram a day for like 2.5 years.
Holy shit!
And then I got cleaned up. I went like a year clean, and then like once a year for a couple years, and then a couple times a year. And then it kind of devolved until like after I got back from Sweden, it was starting to get a little like, that's all they do. And like, they do so much coke in Sweden.
Yeah.
So it was just around a lot. And so it kind of like crept in like once a month type thing. And then I was like, this is kind of sketchy. And then when I got back, like brokenhearted, I just went to my bottom and just started buying bags for a few weeks.
Damn.
And then I was like, fuck this. This is insane. What are you doing? So I'm about to get 2 years, and that'll be the longest.
Let's fucking go. I'll clap to that. Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Let's go, Sam. We're in here, baby. Yeah. I had to slow it down too, man. Like, I feel like you have to slow it down if you want to keep this thing going, because you don't get to say no. I mean, we do have a job where we literally could do anything we want.
Yes, exactly.
And you
have to learn to
control
say
it.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said it though. You have to learn to say no. You know, there's part of this thing too, like seeing it grow. It's the same thing with like you have to say no to the buffet too.
Yeah, for real.
You know, it's just like don't eat the whole. You don't have to eat the whole rider. It will be there tomorrow. I remember the first tour we did where they finally started filling our rider for the first time. It was like right after we did Letterman, and we're kind of blowing up for the first time. I'm 30 years old, and the rider's finally being filled, and we get a bottle of Patron every night. And I spent it was like a 6.5 week tour, probably like close to 40 shows. And I spent the whole tour trying to finish that bottle, just trying. And you know, everyone's just like, you don't have to finish it. And then I would like arrive the next day at the next show and just be like, the bottle is full again.
Yeah, dude.
We have to take it down. So, I mean, like, I'm not drinking before shows anymore.
Yeah.
That's like new as in the last year and a half.
Why'd you decide that? Were you not playing as good anymore, or you were just kind of over the hangovers?
Nah, it's more my knees and my voice. I have vocal issues, but I also have knee issues that are like I drink to like numb my knees, so they don't hurt so much. But then you know, pain exists for a reason.
Right.
It's like I don't bend my finger back this far because then it hurts. But if I drink a bunch, then I can
let's fucking go, brother.
You know, it's like I found that I was pushing past pain to a point where I was in more pain, and so I like took a week or two off, and I was like, oh, I feel better because when I'm feeling that pain on stage, I'm just not going there. So my recovery time is better, but also my voice is better. I'm more lucid, you know, because it's easy to just go into zombie mode on the road and just like, we're just going to get through this thing. I'm going to put myself in a coma for these 5 or 6 weeks. And then I'll be on the other side, and then I can get healthy, you know? And it's like, no. Why?
It still goes. Do you, like, when you get home, when you're doing that 5 to 6 week bender, do you come home and still bend?
No.
You go straight home.
Even in the old days, I remember, cause you know, we used to do like 150 shows a year for, I've probably done at least 7 years that were like 150 show years, which is crazy. But in the old days, I remember we got back from a tour, and at the time, me and Garrett and William were all living in a house together with like another band, Ed Schrader's Music Beat, and our buddy Dan Deacon, our buddy Nolan Straws from this awesome band Double Dagger. We were all in this house, and we got back from a tour that was like 3 months long, and we kind of looked at each other like, "Are we alcoholics?" And so we're all like, "We're gonna quit." And some of us made it a couple days, and some of us made it a week. And I didn't drink for 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm like, "Cool, I'm not like I don't need that." That's a good sign.
What makes
usually I don't really drink when I'm at home.
Same.
Unless there's a reason. Like if a friend's in town or something, I'll go out.
What makes the road make us want to fucking drink a whole bottle of tequila?
There's nothing else to do.
I know,
It's the same as smoking cigs, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And you feel like if this is my life, then I gotta live it up. You know what I mean?
I do.
There's that side of it,
dude.
Yeah, there's that side of it. It's like, well, we're out here.
Yeah. If I'm gonna be fucking
lonely,
I'm gonna have a great fucking time,
dude. We can do whatever we want. So I'm gonna watch 90 Day Fiance. I'm gonna get an extra large pizza, and I'm gonna chill.
That's so funny. So you talk about your bad knees. Do you think because I heard this story that you fucking just tackled some dude who came on stage and then you tore your ACL, bro?
No, I got tackled.
Oh, you got tackled?
I got tackled. Yeah.
Hold on, what happened?
Well, I was performing with our buddy Dan Deacon, who's this amazing electronic composer from Baltimore, one of our oldest friends, and we were opening for him. We did a U.S. tour, and then we did a European tour. But on the European tour, we only did like 5 of the 10 shows playing. But the guys, Garrett and William, were playing in his ensemble. William was playing bass, and Garrett was playing keys. And Dan asked me at a show, I think it was Primavera I can't remember if Primavera was the first one, but he was like, "Hey, Sam, do you want to perform with the ensemble? Like, I've got this I basically put on this suit. I look like one of the M&Ms, you know, from the commercials.
Yeah,
I look like a giant red M&M. And I was like, yeah, just because I want to do something. I'm out here on the road. Like, I want to do something.
Yeah.
So Dan basically, he just let me do my thing, but he would send me out. He does a lot of crowd participation. He'd send me out in the crowd and make a big circle. And then I would lead like an interpretive dance that would just devolve into like a giant mosh pit. And I would help set up the games out in the crowd and just like dance for an hour straight a night. It was a lot of fun because we were playing these massive festivals at the time. And that was really new to me. This is 2008. So I was just like having a blast, and we did like 2 shows. And then on the 3rd show, we were in Paris on the Seine. It was like a festival in this park on the Seine, and these kids he danced at me out in the crowd, and he's like trying to explain to people, what the game is. I'm about to lead this interpretive dance, and as we're just beginning, these 6 15-year-olds just tackle me, and Dan is screaming like, no, stop. And like he gets, and I'm like trying to Hulk out of it, and he tells everybody like, no, do not tackle, do not destroy my friend, please. I'm like, what is happening? And I was like, Dan, I don't want to be out here. And he's just like, hold a second. So we did it again, and then it all went fine. But as the crowd, basically I do this dance and everybody follows me until the beat starts to thump, and then people would start jumping. Well, I'd start pogoing, then the crowd would start pogoing, and then this is just what would happen. And as the beat like kicked and everybody is losing it, this one of these kids just jumps on my back when I'm like in the air. And when I came down the front of my foot, but my back went backwards. So I was on the front of my right leg, but my my shoulders touched the ground and my knee just exploded. So,
oh my God. How'd they stop the mosh pit? Were people like just stomping
nobody knew what was happening. So I was just like trauma blind. And this kid realizes that he's completely destroyed me. And he's like trying to pull me up, and I'm like, stop it, do not touch me. I'm like crying. I'm like, can't see. I'm like, just like tears streaming just from trauma. And, but everything is just black in my vision. And I just like follow the music blindly, limping through the crowd to the front of the stage, and then like go around. And I took like 10 minutes off, and then I just danced I'm like an idiot. I was like, it'll be fine.
But you're still on adrenaline, because like you didn't really feel it that much once you got off. Once you got back to stage, you're like, fuck, I'm back.
Yeah, I mean it's swelled up, but
holy.
But yeah,
fuck.
so I just kept performing for like another 4 or 5 months, but my knee kept popping out of socket. Like I'd be on stage and I'd just fall over. And I finally went to a doctor and found out that ACL got torn. But then so I got it repaired in 2009, and then I was on tour just like 11 weeks after ACL reconstruction. And performed in like a leg brace for 5-6 months, and then I re-tore it in 2015. So I've been on a torn ACL since 2015.
Oh my fucking God, dude!
Yeah,
and you're an energetic dude. Brutal. How did you?
Yeah, I do crazy stuff.
Yeah, so how did you like fucking work through the pain? Like your brain's telling you like, well, that's we need to rock out.
That's the tequila.
That's wild, dude. So who are your front men that you inspired for you to go like so crazy on stage? Like who are your guys that you like really loved?
I mean, James Brown. James Brown early on. And even Elvis, like who definitely probably got a lot of juice from James.
Right.
But those were big influences early on that I like recognized. I mean, my brother was a wild man. Like he used to be in bands, and so he was like a weird influence, but he was influenced through like David Yao from Jesus Lizard and stuff like that. And I remember it was that Primavera that I was at in 2008. I got to see the Jesus Lizard, and I was blown away by this dude. And I was almost 100 yards away, and I'm just watching this dude, probably the 55-year-old dude, just flicking off the crowd. Hopefully he's not mad if I got his age wrong. But he's been around, he's been around since the early 90s, and he's flicking off the crowd. I see him stage dive with the mic in his mouth, like over the empty, between the barrier.
Yeah.
He's probably like jumping 8 feet off the front of the stage to crowd surf, and I'm just like, oh my God.
Jesus.
This is because Joel told me this story that he heard about him when he was when we were younger, about how David Yao, maybe this is just legend, but that he was doing a show in like Dallas or something, and somebody slung a glass bottle on stage and just cracked him in the ear on the side of the face, and he's just like, stumbling, bleeding from his head, but it's just that pop in your ear, your whole equilibrium goes off.
Yeah.
And he's just like, but as he catches himself, he just starts singing again, and then he turns his other side of his face to the crowd, and it's just like, do it again, motherfucker.
Oh my God.
Let's even it out. And Joel's like, that is so cool. He's probably like 14 or 15 telling me this. So I was like, whoa. Because also, like, I saw the, I don't want to say it as I wouldn't say that this is a great influence, but when I was 10, I went through my brother's room and found he had the Gigi Allen documentary, Hated. I think it's called Hated in the Nation, maybe, or just Hated. And I watched that at like 10 years old, and it's just like a naked man with a fucking peanut penis, like throwing his shit around at people. They're like, why was he so mad? And I was like, have you seen this?
Dude, he's got a micro cock, dude. I'd be pissed too.
That poor guy. He's just like, look at my shit.
That's so wild.
But yeah, I was like, you can do this?
Yeah.
He's like performing at Columbia University. And they're like, let's see this man's art. And he's just like, oh, this guy's terrible. We got to get him out of here. But I was like, wow, you can do anything and call it art. I like this.
How do you approach being a front man now versus how you were approaching it earlier? Because people are expecting you to go fucking ape shit, but you got a shitty knee,
Yeah.
So how do you approach it in your head?
I still kill it. I mean, I'm still doing high kicks and stuff.
Fucking killing it.
I just can't. I can't do the squat thrust the same. But people don't realize so much of my stage style is all baseball.
Yeah.
It's it's the side shuffle left to right, from playing shortstop.
Yeah.
It's the throwing it from center field, the crow hop and the punch.
Sick.
That's one of my moves. It's like a crow hop and a bomb, So I don't know, so much of what I try to do now, I think in the old days it was more just about having fun and telling a story, and now it's more about it's more about telling a story and trying to connect a deep emotion to it. Yeah. Maybe I should try to go back to the fun. Me and William had this side project called The Snails, and we used to play, probably only did 30, 40 shows over a 10-year period, but it was the most fun because it connected me to our band before Future Islands, which was just a party fun band, and we dressed up like snails and get really drunk, and
so cool.
And it didn't really matter what happened, it was just a good time. And sometimes I miss that with Future Islands, but I also know how much it means to people, you know, and there's a pride and a responsibility within it, to bring a level of physicality, but more so that's changed to emotional connection, trying to connect to people, because you give the energy in hopes to get the energy, and then you can give more. So you're still trying to create that symbiotic back and forth, and create an atmosphere, create a community,
right?
But it's just much more personal. It's not silly.
Yeah.
It's very personal. I mean, that's part of what Future Islands tries to do is write, catchy songs with deep, music that makes you move until you're at home alone, and then you realize what's actually being said, and it just caves in your chest.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the goal. There's the hook and there's the meat, It's I always think about Danny Brown talk. There's this old interview of his that's always stuck with me. And he's like, when my dog was sick when I was a kid, we would, put put the medicine in a piece of cheese, and that's what you have to do with the music, you know.
you
give him the, you know, for him, he's like in that, he's like, you know, you spit the pussy rap, but you put the medicine in there, you know, you give a message, you hook the people, and then you give them a message. And there's so much of that it really resonates with me. You know, the dance moves are just a hook. You know, the performance is a reflection of the emotion and the storytelling. But there's also a side of it that is the hook, you know. Right. And there's also a message within the movement, and the physicality. Like when I'm at our, you know, 1 hour and 40 minutes into a show, and it's the second to last song, and I'm still going, there's a message in that. Right. Whether or not people recognize it's like, I'm still going. Yeah. You know, I can do it. I'm like, I'm gonna push through my force of will, my physicality, through my pain, to give to you this message, and to show you that you can do it, you know. So there's levels and layers to the messaging, which is all about that like existing, you know, and like pushing through pain, and smiling on the other side. You know, that's what the breaks in between the songs are. You know, the song ends, and then we smile, and we like have a moment of peace, and then we go into the next emotion. Because that is also part of life. Is there are these big moments in our lives, these big ups and these big downs, but there's a lot of just the simple times, and the times with family, the times with friends, just tying your shoes in the morning, you know, and so I think it's important to reflect in between the songs as well. It's just like there's a lot. I look at it in so many ways. I've been doing this so damn long.
Yeah. Same, goodness. Man. Like, what do you think the art of the front man is kind of like dying? It's not like,
yeah, definitely.
Like I'm the same way. Like, there's only a few real front men left, you know. You know, it's crazy. You know, I think of the guy, like the dude from the Idols too, is fucking amazing front man.
Oh yeah, Joe.
Joe's great.
I don't know if I can share my stories, but me and him have some crazy stories. You know, him and Dev from the band, they booked our first or second, or both our first and second shows in Bristol in like 2009.
Really?
Yeah, and we stayed at. Me and Joe had a fucking night one night. I'm not going to say it because I don't know what he likes to share, but we had a night one night.
I'll get him on the show too, and we'll talk about it again.
Yeah. So, if he's okay to tell the story, I don't give a shit. I've already told you much worse stories, but suffice to say, that night I walked out of his house and into a state in a real estate agent's office, and got woken up. This person was shaking me. I was barefoot. In a real estate, and I was like crying, like, I live back there. And was just pointing to the back of the office. God. And they're like, no, you don't. You don't live here. And I was like, yes, I do. And then I'm kind of coming to. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Did you get the fuck out of there?
The guy's like, I think I know where you live. And he took me out of the front door of this place, around the corner. And so Joe's apartment at the time was above this estate agent's office, in up a stairwell. From the back of the building, up a stairwell, there were like 3 apartments. So he leaves me at the back door, and it's like, I'm pretty sure this is where you live. And then I didn't know which apartment it was because we rolled in late to the house. So I just started buzzing all 3 buzzers at the same time. Joe comes down and it's like, what the fuck are you doing out here? And I was like, I don't know, man. And yeah, so I slept for like 2 hours, and then we woke up and went to the next show. And I remember I had to walk in front of that estate agent's office to go to the van, and all the people just like shuddered. Is he coming back in? Oh, shit.
Thanks for having me.
Like, so embarrassed.
I don't know. I'm a big lyric guy, and this is my favorite lyrical album you've made, because how honest you are about depression and loneliness and stuff. And you have before. Yeah. This is really honest, bro. This is like, do you feel like this is really honest for you as well, this record?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I recognize that even more because we just did a promo tour, and we played the album front to back, once in New York and then twice in London. And in that format of just playing the record front to back was, yeah, that stuff was hitting me hard.
I fucking bet, bro.
you know, like that's the goal, you know, like when I'm writing a song, if it makes me cry or feel, I'm like, this is a hit. You know? Whether or not it will be is, you know, it doesn't matter. But that feeling, knowing that creation is creating the feeling, shows me that there's an honesty to it, and it's like, you know, it's hitting me because it hurts, and if it hurts, then it's true, and if it's true, then it's going to connect. You know, so there's like levels to it, and you know, I went from trying to be more poetic in the early days, and then when we did our third album, On the Water, at the time I was really obsessed with this guy Boscom Lamar Lunsford, who was like an old folk singer from like, you know, the late 1800s, early 1900s, which was like teaching me about the birth of song, you know, which is just like songs about life, or songs about love, songs about death, and songs about like loving people so much you want to die. And I was like, that's kind of what we do. And then I was also like really just learning about Daniel Johnston, and
man, amazing.
The thing about him that was interesting was just sometimes the plainness of his lyrics, and the ability for him just to be like, I love you. And then just like, you can't say that. I was just like listening to the song, like, you can't say that. And then it's like, can you say that? Like when he says it's like, there's, of course for him, you know, there's like the naivete to it, but it's just like the honesty, the raw honesty of just saying the thing. So when we did On the Water, I was really obsessed with like, how do you just say the thing? Yeah. You know, how do you just say, instead of trying to like wrap it up in some poetry, or you know, just soften it, or make it more lyrical, or make it rhyme. Like, why can't you just say what you feel? And you know, on that album, there's a particular song called "Where I Found You" that is very much exactly what I'm talking about. You know, that the break is just, I love you and I still do. You know, I loved you and I still do. You know, and like just to say that is just like, oh
yeah, it's like fuck, like get to the point. You know, it's like we're always you know, as artists, you always try to like doctor it up to this thing for the idea of poetry, but really the things that hit home is when you just say exactly how the fuck you feel, you know?
Well, you're also probably trying to, I mean, there's definitely a part of us that just try to cover up that vulnerability too, you know? Like you say that kind of stuff and you can't take it back, and somebody is going to tell you that you're cliche or you're lazy writer, or, you know, like some people won't understand, but that, you know, you don't write for those people. Yeah. And you gotta, you know, you have to write for yourself. You will eventually write for those people. Those people are not ready to hear certain truths. Yeah. And one day they will be going through something and they'll be like, I get it now. Yeah. You know, I've found that through just making music for years with this band, you know, people that have come around to our music, you know, because they go through a thing that they can relate to. You know, I feel that it's important to just like write what I know and write it with honesty and truth, and not try to sing about something I don't know or make something up. You know, I've been playing recently with trying to work in fiction a little bit, and I might do some experiments, but it's fun. That's something I've very rarely done.
Because like you want to sing these songs every day, and you feel like if you're writing them in fiction, sometimes you feel like, hey, this isn't me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, but you can, but it's kind of, I'll still be me in there. Yeah. I'm curious if I can like, create in a way that leaves me less exposed to speak truths in a way. Right. Like and you know, and that's part of, I took us a long way because you asked me about like what's next in the art. I mean, for me, I just want to make art, thing. You know?
It's the same thing, I just want to
be creating. Like I'm talking to a couple producers now about thinking about new stuff and new projects. Like, but I don't know. You know, I'm kind of in a rut right now writing. I haven't written anything in a while that has really jumped at me.
Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of anxiety with everything else. Like, you know, I put out a rap record last year that I recorded. I also recorded another record that'll come out sometime this year. Yeah. Last year, I was like finished this finished people who aren't there anymore. Mixing last year. It's just kind of like so much of the minutia, mixing, album art, press releases, and all this kind of stuff that's not the creation. But you also, you go up and down. I'll go through I won't write anything for 3 or 4 months, and then I know that a pop will happen around the corner. It's around the corner. I have to believe.
Oh, totally. I mean, trusting yourself for 18 years, bro. You've been doing this. Like, it's like, we get a writer's block, but we're going to get past it. It's like, I don't know. I think I agree with that because, like, I can't start a new project unless I put the bow on it with the mixing, with the album art. Like, why am I making new art until I finish this other thing,
Yeah, no, I felt really cagey and anxious for a few months. And I have to remind myself, like, this happens every album release,
Yeah, dude.
And it is like, you feel you're dealing with all these old emotions, emotions that are 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. And you're about to put out this record of songs that are like 2 and 3 years old.
Right.
And you're just like, why am I not putting out music about what I'm going through right now? But that's not the thing, So you start to get real cagey, like, I need to create more. I need to do, like, I'm behind. Right. I'm not doing enough. And that impetus is, like, important. It's important to be like, I'm not doing enough and have that ambition, but also that ambition can be, like, paralyzing if you're not like, no, take a breath, finish what you're doing, don't start a new project before,
That like, Snell outfit will come together after your new record. You can put that Snell album on.
Yeah, like, just finish what you started and then have a think, And I have to remember to take a break. Like we were saying earlier, like, it's okay to say no. You have to, like, advocate for yourself in many different ways in life. True. And just be like, no, you don't have to write today. You ain't got to do shit. You get to watch 90 Day Fiancé and eat pepperoni pizza. Alone.
Sam, you're the fucking shit, dude. Your life and my life are very parallel with the sense of I'm a front man too. I'm always out there fucking doing it up. I'm running the whole thing. I'm honored to know that I'm not the only person like this, that I don't feel alone as much anymore, knowing that there's guys like you out there fucking ripping it up.
You are not alone, my friend.
I love
I'm
it.
with you.
You're the man. Sam, you're the best. You want to do this? We should do this again, bro. I feel like we just scratched the fucking surface. Yeah.
Dude, hit me up.
I'll hit you up. Yeah, I'll shoot you a message on Instagram, and so
right,
you have
cool.
my tune. I got one last. I'm so excited for the future. I mean, you're such a great dude, and I got I like to end the podcast always with, when it's all said and done, what do you want to be remembered by?
I want to be remembered as a great performer.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the shit. Me too, bro.
What's that famous clown's name? There's like Pagliacci.
Oh, yeah.
I want to be like Pagliacci.
But I don't want you to be looking in the mirror crying while you take off the crown. Sam, thanks for being on the show, bro. You're a goat, man. And I just, it's a breath of fresh air that there's still real front men out there. So thanks for being here, bro.
Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll do it again.
Let's do it. Cheers, Sam. Have a great one, buddy. Later.